Hello, hello. Okay. So, how do you think Muslim women are treated in the Middle East, just in general? How do you feel about that? Like,
From what I've heard that they aren't treated as well as men, and they're restricted to certain things, which makes me uncomfortable as a woman in general. But if they're doing it for their religious beliefs, I guess that's their own choice. So.
okay. Who is the most famous / influential Muslim woman you know? And if you don't know anyone, it's okay.
I don't know anyone.
Okay. So how would you feel if you were a Muslim woman, like, actually in the Middle East? Would you, like, what would you try to do? Like, would you feel uncomfortable, or would you try to adapt to that life?
I would feel uncomfortable knowing what I know now and being in my situation now, because if I, for example, could only be escorted by a man, I didn't have access to education. I think being under, being under like male dominance would bother me a lot. So that would make me uncomfortable.
Okay. So, based on your knowledge and whatever you heard, what do you know about, like, Muslim women and, like, marriage and everything that goes on in the Middle East?
So I know that Muslim men are allowed to marry multiple women, and they're allowed to marry women that don't associate with the Muslim religion, and they're allowed to marry outside of their culture. However, Muslim women must marry a Muslim man, and it's expected of them. So I don't believe that's fair, because it's also asserting that males have more choice in the matter of marriage, and females are also usually forced to participate in arranged marriage, whereas males are not. So that's how I feel about that.
Okay. So, do you know anyone personally who's a Muslim woman, and do you know how their religion affects their life?
So I do have a close friend, who is Muslim, and her family is very strict as far as her participating in the religion, and she doesn't believe in a lot of the things that they believe in. She also, as one example, she's in a relationship with somebody who is not Muslim, and they've been dating for about 6 months now, and she has to keep that from her family. So her sisters know about her relationship with this guy, and her parents don't. So she's spoken to me about it before, and how if it comes down to it, if they end up getting married, then she would rather marry him than still be considered part of her family, because if that were the case, her family would disown her. And she believes and hopes that her sisters would still stay in contact with her, but she knows for a fact her parents would not. So I personally feel I feel for her, because I would never want to be in that situation myself. So I know that's how her religion affects her, and I know that she doesn't necessarily agree with all of the things that her parents wish that she would agree with.
Okay.